Back on Morning Line, our final segment this morning with Clint Kelly, malpractice attorney. It's been interesting. We've gotten quite a few calls, and you're just back for the first time in a while.
That's right.
That's impressive. All right, malpractice cases. I'm just curious, how is that different for you handling that? Maybe you just explain to folks what that signifies.
Well, there are a handful of lawyers, and I say handful properly because there just aren't a whole lot of us that handle these cases on a regular basis. Those of us that are board certified. And you have to be, because the law is very, very technical in terms of how you bring it and how you prosecute it and how expensive it is. Used to be maybe 10, 15 years ago, you had a larger group of lawyers, some personal injury lawyers would dabble in it, and then they got popped, you know, because they either didn't file the lawsuit right, they didn't prosecute the lawsuit right, and they just finally learned, I got to get out of this. So there's just a small handful of us that do it, and because there's a small handful of us that do it, we are the ones that are probably best qualified not only to bring the case, but also to value it. You know, what's it worth? You know what it's cost. Yeah, you and I were talking off camera. One of the things that's happened in the litigation system now is there are fewer jury trials because these cases are being settled more often. And so it's hard for us to know what a case is worth unless we actually take the case and settle it, because juries aren't telling us anymore what they're worth because cases aren't going to trial like they used to. People think there's this big litigation crisis, you know. There are fewer jury trials now than there have ever been because these cases are being resolved. But the problem with that is if a jury doesn't tell you what a case is worth, it's up to people like me and defense lawyers who represent hospitals to figure out what they're worth.
How does a client know, and I'm not saying you're like this, in fact I know you're not, but there are lawyers out there, I believe, that are just looking to settle. And when they settle, and that's why I want a lawyer who's not afraid to litigate. If they can settle for what I want, that's fine. But I want a lawyer who can come to me and say, look, they're offering this, but I think I can go to court and win more money. You get more money if you litigate sometimes and win than through a settlement. How do you know if you're getting a lawyer who's just like, yeah, I just want to settle a bunch of cases, I'll probably take less than we can really get, but what the heck? How do you know?
Well, what I tell the public here is if you're going to go to a lawyer to take on a medical malpractice case, ask that lawyer, are you board certified in medical malpractice law? It's that simple. If that lawyer is not board certified, then you have to ask yourself a question, am I going to the right person?
Meaning that he's going to be looking or she's going to be looking to settle.
Correct. And well, even more than that, Nick, not just looking to settle, but is that person qualified and the best experienced person that I can hire to take care of my rights in what is probably, in my judgment, the most difficult cases to prosecute. Because they're fought so hard. So that's what I tell the public is just ask, are you board certified? And if you're not, say, why not? And listen to the question. It's like going to, you know, women go to plastic surgeons all the time to get, you know, boob lifts and things like that. Most of your plastic surgeons are board certified. You go to a plastic surgeon or someone who calls himself a plastic surgeon and they're not board certified, that's going to raise some serious questions about, you know, why aren't you board certified?
You ever watch that show Botched?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, and you see that the doctors on that show are the ones that are certified that have to correct the mistakes of what oftentimes were not certified surgeons.
Here's the problem with law. You can have a botched lawsuit, but you can't fix a botched lawsuit like you can fix a botched surgery. You know, when a lawyer botches your case, 9 times out of 10, it cannot be fixed because the way the system is set up, you basically get one shot and you better get it right. Doctors, they can fix other doctors' screw-ups more often than not. Sometimes those are irreversible, but that's why it's so important. You've got to know, do I have a good lawyer? Does he know what he's doing? Because this is probably my only shot at justice.
Gotcha. We've got a caller just came in. Let's see if we can take James on line 1. James, good morning. Hi, James. I think he's there. Just put him on the line. Are you there, James? I think I hit the right one. James, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, James. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
All right. In 2001, my wife of 8 years, she had double hip replacement surgery the same day, and her healing process, she was never the same for a couple years or so after. Anyway, she died of colon cancer in 2004. And how do you know if these implants were recalled or defective because she's deceased? But she was never the same after the double hip replacement. And by the way, she had it done the same day. That's pretty brave.
So, yeah, and you're thinking maybe the colon cancer could have had something to do with the implants?
No, no. I'm just saying.
How do you know?
They're recalling all these.
Oh, I'm sorry.
They're recalling all these. They're recalling all these DePuy implants or whatever these are. I don't know if she was under recall for that, because I never looked into it till I'm watching your show right now.
Gotcha. Okay, I gotcha.
I'm very glad James brought that up. First of all, double hip replacement is a drastic procedure.
Doing both. Usually you do one at a time, right?
He's not kidding. That is a serious procedure, and there's a lot of risk involved in that. That's a separate issue.
Okay.
He wants to know, how would I find out if there's a recall on the implant?
Yeah.
DePuy has been the subject of multiple lawsuits because of the hardware that's been defective.
What's wrong? Is it
bad materials, bad joints? A lot of them are, shoulder, hip. It just breaks.
Huh.
If you like, for example, an artificial hip it's like a ball joint that goes into the socket. It just breaks because it was defective material. In answer to his question, we don't have laws right now that are sufficient, in my judgment, to inform consumers quickly enough whether there's a defect. The only way the consumer is going to find out, Nick, is a lawsuit, and that's not the most efficient way to do it. But you type in, like, let's say DePuy implant litigation, and if you start seeing a big long list on Google of cases, there's a problem associated with that. Same with drugs.
Yeah.
Our system right now, the only way you really know for sure and early whether there's a problem with a device or a drug is, are there being lawsuits filed over it?
That's the indicator on that. All right, let's take Carrie really quick. We've got next on the line. Go ahead, Carrie.
Oh, yes, hi. I got in on the tail end of the lady who was talking about her gallbladder surgery going bad.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, because I didn't hear the response of the attorney, whether or not there is another surgery that could be done for her to correct that, or would doctors also just avoid it because they could see that it was already botched in the first place?
All right. I think that was Trish who called earlier. My understanding of vagus nerve damage, it's permanent, like most other nerve damage. There is some period of recuperation, but after that, you're as good as you're going to get. So I'm not aware, if she has gastroparesis, I'm not aware of a particular type of surgery or remedy that's going to bring back the function of her stomach like it should be, because it's permanent damage.
When you go under that surgery, again, you said they tell you the risks. I mean, and if they take all the proper precautions, they should pretty easily miss the vagus nerve, shouldn't they?
Yes.
I mean, so you're saying that could be a standard of care violation.
Yeah, well,
I mean, that's such a biggie. I mean, it's like, if they're telling me I could lose to my stomach, they better be darn sure, like 90%, that they're not coming anywhere close to my vagus nerve, or I'm not doing it.
Well, you hit the nail on the head. They're doing everything they're supposed to be doing to prevent that complication. Just because a complication of risk of a procedure does not mean it's okay.
Yeah.
You don't consent to negligence.
Right.
But if you find out that there was a bad outcome and it was preventable and the doctor deviated from the standard of care, you've got a case.
Okay. Gotcha. All right, as we wrap things up here, I think we've got the information to put up on the screen with you. And remind folks again, your office is there in Hendersonville. Been there?
Correct.
And is that number right?
Yeah, 615-8-million. Should be pretty easy to remember.
I didn't remember.
It would be.
That's an easy number.
That's how we came up with the number. It's just the easy number to remember.
615-8-million.
Yep.
You can go to the website. Again, if someone calls that, who will they talk to?
If they call in, they'll speak to Michelle. Michelle does my intake. She'll take a history from the client, and then she'll pass the information to me, and I will let the client know within 24 hours whether they have a case.
Yeah, and Clint's very good about explaining
and
that
it's free.
too.
It's free, Nick.
Yeah, that doesn't cost anything.
No, it does not.
And you'll take the time at least maybe to explain why it's not a case, or obviously if it is, what the next step is.
Correct.
And if there is a case, then you have them come to the office and you start.
I will write the client a letter one way or the other. If it's a case, I'll get them in. If it's not, I'll write them a letter and explain why. And it's entirely confidential as well. Okay. No one will ever know about it. And the client then will decide if they want to go forward if I think it's a case.
Okay. And once the case gets going, is that a matter of how easy is it to get the medical records from hospitals and all that kind of stuff?
It's not too hard. I know.
You get all that?
Yeah, I can get what I need, and cases usually take about 18 months to 2 years to be completed.
I'm glad 18 months to 2 years, whether it's litigated or settlement.
Correct. It's a slow march to justice.
Okay, well, listen, we had several calls today, and one great reason I think you're coming back on this show is to remind folks, because several of the calls we got today were folks who had incidents happen prior, and they're outside the statute of limitations. So
1 year from the day of discovery,
Yeah.
just pick up the phone and call if you think something's wrong. It never hurts to call, but it sure can hurt if you don't.
Darn right. So you'll be coming on every month.
Yes.
We'll educate the folks, get the word out there, and listen, I appreciate you coming on.
Dan, I do too.
It's just
I'm glad
good
to be
seeing you.
back.
I'll tell you, every time I've learned a lot from this man. It's helped me in my biz with the stories I've done, just not on malpractice, but other things. Thank you. We'll see you soon, all right? We'll take a break, be back with a programming note about tomorrow right after this.